with my connection here. It's going to be a very difficult evening because I'm having lots of problems with the connection. So we're going to see how it goes. Guys, I'm having a lot of problems with connection here. We're going to hope that it goes well and that
hey, Mr. Charles,
how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I'm hoping that we're
network is being messy.
Yes, it's really, really messy. I don't normally have it this messy, but I'm hoping that we're going to have a good session and that the internet is not going to connect us up. So I'm going to go straight into it without doing too much of an introduction, just so that you know what it is, and get you straight into questions because they're dying to hear from you today, okay? So be ready. Yes, they're dying to hear from you. So this is the model boardroom, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the chairman of the board. The people that watch the event, they are our board of directors. So they are now inviting you to present to them and they will ask you questions. That's basically the theme behind it. And you know, the topic today is about how do people stand out at castings, all right? And we have with us the one, the only, the best, hottest designer, casting director, Paolo Sisiano. But before we Paolo, we have to introduce you. We like to always introduce our guests. So we have to introduce you. So, by way of introduction, Paolo Sisiano is Nigerian Italian designer and creative director. He has his own label. Yes. He began his Lagos-based brand in 2013. He's also a casting director with many years of experience selecting models for different fashion shows, including the Spice TV fashion show. As a designer, Paolo is known for his use of vibrant colors and silk silhouettes. With his experience as a designer and a casting director, Paolo is prime guest to give you all the tips you need to stand out at a casting. Paolo, how are you?
Yay! Thanks, Mr. Shala, for that.
Yes, so when we're in the presence of celebrities, of stars, you know, we have to recognize them for who they are. Because not only are you a designer, you're a choreographer, you are a dancer, you are an actor, you are a casting director. These are the ones that I know of. God knows all the other ones they are doing on the side that I don't even know of. You understand? So, as you can see, somebody is saying, seek Sisiano for president. You see, they know you, Sisiano. They know you very well.
I try. Thanks, guys.
So how have you been?
Very well. I think it's been time to reflect. And then, but everything that I do is very ad-based. So we're still trying to see where this is going and how we're really affected. But all in all, it's been good time to just reflect on the journey so far to knowing exactly where we are and where we're coming from. So I think that's good.
That's good. Well, I trust you. You even before COVID, you were always reinventing yourself. So more. That's just standard for you. Okay, so let's get into the business. Okay, the business of it now is we have. Why is it, that when they go for castings, they're not selected? They're always getting upset that they're not selected, they're not chosen. So first thing, can you first explain to me what is a casting? What do we mean?
Okay, so basically when a casting is being done. Okay. Mr. Shaws, your question was, what is a casting, Avi? Just to be sure that's on the same page.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Okay. So a casting basically is a selection process for a specific presentation. So it's very easy to get lost in the fact that you attend all these castings and never get selected. Most times it's because the casting directors are working with a specific brief as to what the client wants. And we can't go past our emotions or get sentimental in terms of what we're looking for. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the client. The casting director is only a medium that is serving the client. So you should always just know that it's not about us and it's really not about you as well. It's nothing to do with you. When the job is right for you, it's right for you.
Okay, so I know that you want to get into the nitty-gritty, but we have to warm them up first. They cannot just get into nitty-gritty. Okay, so when you look at when we look at the modeling, come a long way, all right, in Nigeria in terms of diversity, especially on the runway. Okay, but do you think this is true from the perspective of casting directors? I mean, I'm sure you sat on some panels with some casting directors and think this guy doesn't or lady doesn't have a clue. Or you watch some other casting directors and you see a casting director abuse a model. What nonsense! Are you effing this? Are you stupid? Are you ugly? How did you come here? What's your view about how we have progressed in terms of casting directors and how professional we are now?
I think that Mr. Shola, and I say this with all due respect as to what the industries are building in terms of fashion and models. We are still a building industry. And in so saying, we don't have everything under lockdown. It's something that we're learning. And as we go along the way, we would get better and better. Now, most times, the idea of fashion is, sorry everyone, being a bitch. Unnecessarily, it's not it doesn't yield the right results. You can be pleasant and you can still do a good job. So it's the perception that you sometimes need to be really harsh to get the job done. I've been at castings where I just said, no, thank you. And you know that we need to see a lot of people. It doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be brash or rude outrightly. So it's, although on the casting director's defense, sometimes the models can overdo it. So if you keep coming in, they might get a bit frustrated and they might just be like, okay, dude, what exactly are you doing here? I've seen it like 5 times. Can you just... So yeah, I think it's really about a balance from both the models and the directors casting at the time.
So is it true? I have some models that say to me that, well, you casting directors, you only like light-skinned girls. And if they're not light-skinned, then you don't like them. That's what we hear. That's why we're asking these questions. So is it true?
Okay, so I disagree. I think that a well-rounded casting is a mix of like different identities. And it might look like the light-skinned girls are chosen the most. It's just we don't have a lot of light-skinned girls. And if you're running a well-rounded show, the light-skinned girls that you have on set most times are picked because we already have quite a number of dark-skinned girls. And if we're trying to run an industry that is well-rounded and well-represented, then we have to make sure that we have a perfect mix. And back to the issue, we don't have enough light-skinned girls. So it looks like the light-skinned girls always get picked.
So how do we deal with that? Is there anything we can do, or it's just one of those things that suck it up and live with it?
How do we deal with that? With the presentations that we run, it's basically about storytelling and pushing the identity and creating our narratives. And I think that we always would need a mix. So a Nigerian isn't necessarily dark-skinned. A Nigerian isn't necessarily light-skinned. I think we are people that are very different, and it's okay to come into that difference. And if you're amazing, no matter the shade of your skin, you'll be picked, especially if you're in line with what we are looking for at the time. So I think that it's nothing to defeat anyone. It's just to know that if you want this job, it's not really about you. It's good to be prepared, but we just have to make sure that you tick the boxes as to what we're looking for at the time.
Okay, so in an article on InStyle, yeah, a London casting director, Misha Notcutt, yes, while speaking on the lack of diversity in the Fashion Week, said, and I quote, "The responsibility is clear. Brands have the autonomy over the vision they want to project. What that vision, when that vision is narrow, it is up to the casting directors to challenge them to be more inclusive." What do you make of that in Nigeria? And do you think that casting directors in Nigeria have that sort of influence over fashion brands? So basically what I mean by that is...
Mr. Shala, can you take that again? Network.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I'll repeat that. Okay, basically, in summation, yes, a top casting director, Misha Notcutt, stated that brands could be directed as to the type of models that they choose if the casting directors have the power or are willing to do it. So what I'm asking that in Nigeria, for instance, imagine a Paolo Sisiano came and said to you that I want 20 light-skinned models. But as a casting director, you know that that doesn't reflect the Nigerian society. Would you, as a casting director, just give them their 20? Or do you believe that casting directors now have the power in Nigeria to influence those brands to do things differently?
I would say it's really about who the individual is that is the casting director. Because if I were on a casting table, it wouldn't be about I want 20 light-skinned people. It would be what is best for the brand. And if the brand
But if the client
is about
says to you that they want 20 light-skinned, what would you do?
Mr. Shola, the client says they want 20 light skin. It's 20 light skin, no. It's 20. I'm not the client. So we need to remember that at the end of the day, we're serving the purpose for the client.
So the point of this question is then, let's just take it out of the client for a minute. The client is operating from the perspective of she just feels light skin is best. But you, the casting director, know that that one may not be the best for her brand. What can you do as a casting director to influence her to do things differently?
So I think that this is a conversation that would most likely be had before the casting. So it's on where the storytelling of a brand is coming off. Now, conversations tend to help in terms of communication with two people. And to be able to experience this very stiff but very sure idea of what this person wants. Now, if you say you want 20 light skin models for a presentation, you already have your ideas and you have your reasons why you're saying this. If you then look at it from my point of view and I'm like, okay, you know what, it would be nice to have a variety. The clients come in, you know, it's a nice mix, and the client still disagrees. There's really nothing I can do about that because I've tried to push my own consciousness onto them. But if they don't buy into it, then that's really what it is because it's their show, it's their representation. All you can do is really advise. And we're not trying to change anyone's narrative. We just wish that we're all selling the right narrative at the same time.
I mean, of fashion, they say is what the clients want that you give. As a client that knows who are their target market, the casting directors can advise and explain diversity. However, it's what the client wants that stands. I hear them. I think part of the issues that we have is that when you do international castings, we have to try, I mean, I've done a lot of castings for London Fashion Week, for New York, and other
Mm-hmm.
places like that. And we find ourselves in a situation whereby they want 60 models and they bring 59 white people that all look exactly alike, and they choose one black person. But however, they've had possibly about 500 black people come through the casting, and they choose only one black person. And most likely that black person is an extremely light-skinned or mixed-race person. So I think the question around that is that somebody like me now, I would have to try and say to them, guys, we're in London. We need some diversity here. Do you understand? We can't have just white people. What about Chinese? What about Asian? What about black? But in Nigeria, when we turn it over, what we're trying to say is that, yes, we seem to have this fascination on light skin, but there's beautiful dark skin, there's mahogany, there's chocolate, there's brown skin, there's black. Do you understand? Have a mixture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's some of the fights that I'm sure you have when you've done things for London Fashion Week, because I know you've got models for some of the designers for that, and you choose for yourself. I've had it when I do things like for GT Bank, and I have to say to them, yes, I know Oga likes this type of model. However, it's not about what Oga likes, so we need to get the balance and give some of the designers what they would like as well, especially when designers are not involved in the casting. So let's move into the nitty-gritty of what these models want to know about. Okay, so we'll leave all that diversity along. I need to put some flesh into this question for me, Sisiano. Don't just gloss over it. Can you give the models a broad insight into what a casting process really is like from a casting director's point of view? Yeah, because I believe that if they understand our mindset, what we expect, what we see from our side of the table, it might help them understand what they need. And just to give you an example, yes, what I'm thinking about here. I'm doing a swimwear casting. The model shows up in boots, wearing a jacket and a jumper and a coat. Hello? But I'm doing swimwear. I need to see your legs. I need to see your stomach. Do you get what I'm saying? Or they come to a runway casting and they have no heels to walk. So that's the sort of thing. So give us an insight as to what you think is how it works from our perspective.
Okay, so basically, when we are looking out for models, it's what fits the brand best. Now, in terms of the brand, it is what we are looking for. So presentations to runways, and sometimes when you hear the saying your best foot forward, it's actually the right, there's no other thing. Because most times we already can tell if we're interested in a model or not for a particular project. Because once you see them, it could be for presentation. Most times it might not even be for a runway show. It could be for like a lookbook. It could be for a future job. You just are able to tie someone in for something else. And at every point in time, it's always good to just present yourself right. So the clutter in terms of how you dress and how you speak and how you look, you know, all of that is put into perspective, because as human beings, we work a lot with our emotions as well. And it's really about that connection that comes through. If you're going for a swimwear casting, you're wearing boots and you're wearing jackets and all these things, it's already a bit distracting, because if we have like over 100 girls outside, we're working with the time, trying to make sure that we're not wasting anyone's time and just go as quickly as possible. And it can be a bit of like a drag if I now need to tell you, okay, you know, take this off, can you wipe your makeup off, can you come again? You need to know what the job is. While you're knowing what the job is, you need to know exactly who you are. Because what we do with fashion is, in arts in general, is self-identification. And it's this journey that we go on to knowing exactly who we are and building from there. And even as models, you need to be very sure and certain as to what type of person you are, what type of gigs you would like. And I do get that. we don't run enough jobs, enough shows in Nigeria to cover. But rather than become, I'm trying to look for the right word. So rather than become like a bit jumpy on every job, find out about the job. So what's this casting for? Okay, this is a runway show. How is my runway walk? What is my face like? Where's my skin at this time? All these things are put into consideration, and we would like to work with everyone because we know that this is something you're passionate about. But the honest truth is we can't. The numbers are in like a small fragment of the people that come for these auditions. And you need to find out who you are, first of all, with everything else. And I'm not saying don't go after your dreams, but if you do go through a process of several castings and you just never make into anyone, then it's more like you kind of need to check it back and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? And you know, where should I change this? Where should I improve on this? For a swimwear casting, if you're a size 2 and you've already checked out the brand and maybe they deal with curvy girls, you kind of know, like,
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, you know, that's why you have to know the job that you're going for an audition for, a casting for. It's like if a bank put out for a job and they said they needed experience, someone that was doing Yoruba in its secondary school won't just walk in there for the job. So we need to as an industry look at this seriously as a job. And that also goes from the models to everyone else. And you need to be able to say, okay, you know what, I heard about this casting. What is it about? Okay, I think I fit into this, or I don't. I would let this go.
I agree with you, because one that I found with a lot of models, like I say, they don't come prepared. And they also do not understand the logic of numbers. Like, for instance, now, I don't know if this ever happens to you. I'm sitting at a casting table, yeah? I've been there for 3-4 hours. I've seen possibly 400 models already. They start to blur, because they all start to look alike after a while. Do you understand? And then the model walks in, and she walks in very lethargic. You know, it's like, what's your name? My name is Marilyn, sir. Before you even walk, I've already put no. Honestly, whereas if she had possibly come in with an attitude, walked in, stood tall, give it that hot walk, or her voice was up, you understand? It might have changed. I might have woken up and said, okay, who's this? Okay, I like her attitude. Let her put it through. How important do you think that is towards you deciding if you want to model? Their personality, their attitude, how they come. Sisiano, I'm not sure if you heard me.
So,
did you get my question?
Yes, I did. Yes. It's very important.
Fantastic.
The model's overall character and charisma, extremely, because it might not be for your walk, it might not be for your face, it might be for a smile, it might be for how you present yourself, how you carry yourself. It's really about connecting with a human being. And sometimes it looks like some models get like, there's an extreme type of grace. They might not necessarily fit exactly into what you're looking for, but there's that extra that you're like, okay, I need this type of energy in the show. Because we're already dealing with too much, guys. The casting director is already dealing with the client and has to still deal with the models. So if there's anyone that really can make the job easier with their energy and their presence, and you know, when I say go, you're going, it just makes every sense to me in the world. Because I also work as a choreographer, and I'm looking at if this girl is really going to be dragging her feet. I'm not sure I'm interested, because it needs to be go, go, go. We're there to get the job done. And it still comes back to the idea of knowing that this is a job, and if you do take it like that, it should be taken seriously. And if you get in a space, what's your name? It's what's your name? Oh, my name is XYZ. you know, and we don't expect that you would all sound the same, which is where you still need to identify who you are as a person. There still needs to be you in every conversation, and there needs to be you in the walk, in the presence that you carry. And it's really about you at the end of the day, not for the job in terms of working as a model, for a working model. It's about you, because you need the casting directors to fall in love with you. You need the clients to fall in love with you for the next time. And even if they're not working with you, you should be able to get referrals from them based on the energy. And that's how to build like a long career. Even when I've seen models on sets where you'll be like, oh, nice, nice, nice. And, you know, even taking the compliments in doesn't leave like a memorable remark to even give another compliment. So you need to just be positioned right to say, okay, you know what, this is a job. If I'm doing a good job, I would get a well done. And if I'm doing a bad job, it would be, oh, and I would work up and move forward.
I mean, I totally agree with you. For me, I think personality and energy is very important for me. And I would like to say to models that, particularly if you're doing runway, presentation is different because the casting directors might take a little bit more time of looking around, looking you up and down. But when you do runway, you literally have 5 seconds, you walk in, you walk out, a decision is made whether you're going to the next round or you're not. So if you don't kill it that first time round, that's it, you're out. So Debbie of Lagos and OSC College of Fashion, both of them have said something that how is it that you don't seem to send, or why is it that casting directors don't send the specifications of the jobs to the models so that they can come prepared? So basically, if you've got a job, you don't tell them what the job's about, so they don't know if they're coming for swimwear, high fashion, runway, presentation, editorial. They have no idea. They just show up.
I think that, guys, you also need to be patient with us as an industry, because this is still a growing industry. And the companies might not get every step right. We might not get every flyer right. The information might not necessarily be complete. But I think that the jobs where I've casted for, it's been very specific. So it's been runway shows to competitions, and it's been a certain type. We don't have a variety for you not to know the types. At this point, we are either doing runways or presentations or casting for like maybe a large editorial. But apart from that, that's really where we are. So we haven't gotten to this place where we're casting. I know there's certain companies that have casted for like plus size models, and they do specify. So specification tends to come with the minority. So if I'm doing a show and I wanted models that were size 12 and above, it will be stated on the information flyer that, oh, for this particular thing, we would like to see models 12 and above. If you saw a flyer that said, oh, runway show, it's immediate. What is the primary basis of the industry? You know that they are not talking about your plus size models. And if plus size models do come through, they would be attended to, knowing that it's a general call. But if it's a specific call, it will be stated. So maybe we can specify a little bit more. But the honest truth is, even if the company fails to, it is generalized because they are not looking for anything specific. If a company is looking for something specific, then it will be stated.
Okay, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think people that know me will know that I'm very clear in my castings. I put as much information in my casting material as possible. So if I'm doing a runway show, it will say minimum 5'9". Don't come with makeup. Wear jeans. bring heels. I actually spell it out for you. So if you come with the wrong thing, you are not going to get casted or selected. It's not going to happen. Because I feel that if you can't take the time out to look at things, then if I bring you onto the show, you're going to mess me about. Yeah. And the other thing that I would also say to somebody is this: if you see a casting and you hear it's a Tiffany Amber doing the casting, go do some research. You can Google her. You can go to her page, see what kind of clothes she does, what kind of style, what's her style, and adapt accordingly. That's what I say. Somebody asked the question. Sammy Toja said that I'm not sure I get this question, but I'm still going to read it out. Yes. It says, what advice would you give to someone who's 5'10" and I'm assuming that's as a woman, and the casting calls for model? No, it might be for a man, maybe. It says, what advice would you give to someone who's 5'10" and the casting call for models who are 6 feet tall? I'm sorry. Anyway, but Paolo, you're my guest. Let me not answer. Let me just stop my mouth. Answer that, please.
Okay. So I can get away with a model that is maybe 5'11" for a 6-foot casting if they are extremely stunning and fit into what we're looking for. So I can see anyone, literally. It'll be nice to keep it as professional as possible. Okay, I'm not 6, but you know what? I will give this a shot to be seen. So if you're not 6 and you're 5'11", that means everything else is coming correct. Personality, energy, work, then I would book you if you fit into it. Because I've also grown. Before I became a casting director, I had a sister that was modeling full-time, and she wasn't 5'9". She was 5'8.5". And she booked jobs where I wasn't a casting director, basically. And I realized that it's really about giving the opportunities. And I've seen people that were not necessarily the exact height to deliver on the job.
That's right.
Now, when people like your tall models, is really because when they're up on the ramp. Now, this is something I understood growing in the business as well. You just look longer. So by the time you're looking at someone that is 6 and you're seated, they kind of look short, and it's most times not the best representation of the garment by the designer. So certain designers would never compromise with a short model. There's certain people that will, and there's nothing to be upset about or angry about. And some directors, casting directors, might fall in love with you and give you the opportunities, and some might not, and that's just what it is. And in the sense that where you do realize that maybe you're not, I remember there's a particular person that always used to come for the spice casting, and I fell in love with her, but she was 5'7".
Wow.
The height recommendation was 5'10", because we were shooting this runway shows, and I explained over and over again, and I said, I'm so sorry, but it just won't work, because the designers were. It just when you now begin to get sentimental and get emotional, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Maybe you then need to look into more of like prints and portraits. You need to find something else. If you're passionate about it enough, you kind of you evolve with the process. And so if you're stunning enough, stunning.
I mean, I remember I used to have this really short girl. She was like 5'6", okay, really short, and she loved doing runway. The funny thing about her, Paolo, was that any casting she went for, if she was able to get through the door and to appear before a casting director, she always got selected. But she was so short. Personality, a strong walk, all of that sometimes can make a difference. I'm hoping that Paolo can still hear me as we're having he's disappeared. Hopefully he'll come back again. So personality, a strong walk, right attitude sometimes can help you. However, for a lot of the very big shows, it's very difficult because when you're dealing with international designers, they will very, very rarely compromise. There's, what's that model's name that always models for Laquan? She always opens or closes his shows. I've forgotten her name. I know her very well. She is not 5'9", but she always gets picked. She always gets called in for special bookings and stuff like that. I'm hoping that Paolo will come back on again. Or I don't know if you people can see him, but other people can't see him. So, yes, he's coming back on again now. Sorry about this, guys. It's internet is Aduke. Joshua, I owe you. You're a superstar. Debbie of Lagos. I agree with you. And all of you guys, you all know who I'm talking about. See, these are people that know the industry. These are people that know what we're talking about. What I was just talking about there a few seconds ago, Sisiano, before you disappeared, I said that I had a great model in London that always got picked for shows. Always. She was 5'6". Once she managed to wangle her way through the door and she got in front of a casting director, she got picked. And I was just giving an example of somebody that does that here, and that's Aduke. She's not 5'9". I think, even though she says she's 5'8", Aduke is more like 5'7.5" if she's lucky. But her attitude, her walk, her presence gets her castings, gets her special bookings. She may not get in through the regular casting, but somebody that knows her will come and say, book me, Aduke. I want her to open. I want her to close. I want her to this. I want her to that. So, guys, you know, you do have to remember that this is a business. It's not going to be like that for everybody. But if you do come with something special, it could be a difference. So somebody asked a question. The real Peter X says, please, why is height really a thing? Is it that clothes don't look good on people who aren't tall? I'm asking Sisiano this as a designer, not as a casting director this time.
Okay. Basically, this question is a very tricky question because before I became a designer, I was already used to seeing just tall people on the runways, on the screens. Now, this is a template that has been for the longest time. As a designer, now, I tend to work with who the clothes fit the most. I have a lot of drapey garments. If the model is petite, it would drown them. And even with actual models, my clothes still need somebody. So you need like nice shoulders so that this just drapes out and it comes to my general aesthetic. And I do say that my clothes even fit like regular sized people, which are my clients, more than the models. I fall in love with my clothes over and over again when I see them on my clients than I saw them on the models because it's different. There's body to carry and it's different for different people. It's really different. But I know that if you were 5'5" and you wore Sisiano, it wouldn't work for presentation. And when we're making the clothes, we're working with specific measurements. So and that's why you probably see that everyone is at the same heights. Sometimes a bit of a variation, but most times, because if I'm working on a collection, I know that the length for the pants will be 48-50 because of the model's legs. If you are now like 5'6", I know that it won't work because it distorts the garment from the cuts to how it is placed. And I've made it like that. Have I worked with models that were super tall? Yes. And have I worked with models that were 5'8", 5'9"? Absolutely. But I have to be realistic with the cuts that have come from the studio. So each time a collection is being made, I do not have different specifications for the garments. It is one specification. Because most times you probably have just 2 or 3 models shooting the lookbook, and the garment still has to be able to fit.
That's right.
So that's why there's been like a specification as to what a model should look like and what it should be, just to make the designers' work easier. Because maybe if we got the models a year before and knew that they were going to do the shows, it'll be easier, but it's impossible. We're never going to get the models before. We can't produce each garment based on each model. It's not possible. It's not sustainable, guys. Even if, go on, Mr. Shola.
No, I was just going to say, just to re-emphasize your point, just so that people also understand. Designers take their collection, they build what you call a show collection. Okay, this is a collection that they might use for 3 to 6 months. And in those 3 to 6 months, they might do 10, 15, 20 shows in different countries. And what they need to be able to do is that as soon as they get into those countries, they can pick 20 models and it will fit into them with very little alterations, no hemmings, no anything. So that is why there is an industry standard so that designers can go. So your collection, Sisiano, is built for models that are 5'9" to 5'11", a size, maybe a 4 to a size 8. You know that if you're going to do a show in Paris now, you give the casting director those specifications and he's got no problem. You can then move to Milan. You can do the same thing. Do you understand? So that is why people do that, guys. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but that is the reason why there is a specification. Magege, stop being greedy. You always want outfits. You always been asking for outfits. So Sabito just said we didn't answer his question properly. Simon, to your question. You said we didn't give you advice. Oh boy, we cannot make you grow taller. If you're 5'10" and the minimum height is 6 foot, there's nothing we can do about it. There's no advice for that. The only advice we said is that if you have a bit of personality, if you're lucky, you might get in. But for guys, it's very rare. If you're short, you're just not going to get in. Because what you have to remember is that if you are 5'10", girls are coming at 5'9", which is just about an inch shorter than you. They're going to be wearing heels which are on average 3 to 5 feet. So that's already taking them to 6'2". And you're at 5'10", and probably Sisiano has a male and female. So he has his female outfit, model is here, and you down there. For pictures, it don't look good. That's why we tend not to even negotiate on the male height whatsoever. It's just not going to happen at all.
Because shoes can never help the guys.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do shoes to help them. So I'm looking for some more questions. We have 1 minute more. Are we running out of time? No, we have a little bit of time. We restarted it. Anthony, don't come and finish me out. So I want to ask you this. Okay. If you were to give models 3 insider secrets to increase their chances of being selected for casting, what would they be?
Mr. Shall I didn't get you.
Okay, I said, if someone came to you and you had to whisper in a model's ear and say, listen, these are the 3 secrets that I'm telling you, I'm not telling anybody else, that you need to bear in mind to increase your chances of being selected at a casting, what would they be?
Okay. I'm always preaching identity no matter what I'm doing. So I would say individuality, which covers your personality. The resume, which is your work and your face. And then the last thing is erase the frown. Guys, I don't know why everyone comes to a runway casting and they're like this when they're walking.
Thank you. Like they want to beat me up.
It's not cute. Please stop. Please, it's not cute.
You think that I stole their boyfriend. I don't get.
So yes, individuality, your work package, which is your face and your whole body at work, and then it's nice to smile once in a while and just relax.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that I would advise people, Ebony Duke, sorry, I missed your question. So if you can tell me your question again, I'll try and get that one answered for you, Ebony Duke. I missed the question. I think one of the things that I would also say to models is this. Castings can be long. All right? If you're unfortunate that you don't come early and they're seeing you 5 hours into the casting, you cannot walk into that casting with that attitude of, I've been here for 5 hours. You have to walk in with the attitude of, you've just come 2 minutes ago, you're fresh, you're hot, you're ready to walk, and give it everything you got. For 10 seconds or 1 minute, it is not going to finish you off. Kyla, hiya, Fumi, I saw you earlier as well. All right, so practice as well. I will say that you need to practice. So somebody says, amazing question. Amanzino asked a question. He says, when you say personality, which personality are you referring to in particular? Because there are different levels of personality. So which one do you say best fits the runway casting?
Guys, it goes back to what the job is. Each runway is different. So if you were working my show, for instance, as a designer, it's more about a sexy look for me, very calm, very demure. It's really about just knowing that, I am hot and I am hot. I'm not stressing. So it won't work for me. There are other people where in their shows, they want you to feel like a Terminator. So of course you give face. It's just about knowing what the range is. So guys, it's not that deep. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. And then it goes for editorials as well. Know what the brand is, know what you're selling. Because at the end of the day, you're selling a product. And you can't be offering a nice orange to me and then you're like this. There's no way. You just always have to know what the product is. And it's okay sometimes to ask the client or the designer and say, okay, what exactly do you have? Another place where I think that models need to try. Don't be cocky, but have a bit of a conversation. Pull yourself in. Mm-hmm. We as designers need you the same way you need us. So have a conversation, make it a two-way street where people can talk easily. As long as you're polite and you say the right things, you can also get to learn a lot at the same time. And the same thing with the casting director. So if someone says, okay, you know what, relax, and you're a bit confused, you can say, okay, please, what would you like? And then if the person responds, it can also help. So I think you guys need to, you don't talk. A lot of the models here don't talk. And I'm not saying be protesters. I'm just saying be able to have conversations, and you know what? We get to see you a bit more there. And that's where the models that really flourish have the upper hand, because they can converse, and there's more to them than just, okay, you're just gonna wear this. Okay, so try this on, and then I'm like this. Okay, it works. And there's no conversations whatsoever.
That's right. I mean, Bruno from Claw Models talking about how he chooses models to join his agency in Paris. He said that it can't just be about the look; it's also about personality. I mean, Anthony Orji said that you gave him some good advice some years back, that he used to frown too much. He took your advice on, and it said it helped him a lot. One of the tips that I'm going to give you guys as models is this. Yes, a lot about how you feel is mental, and how you portray yourself is mental. And I'll give you a classic example. If you ever worked in a call center where they answer telephone calls, the first training they always give you is that when you pick up the phone, they want you to smile. And you'll be thinking, but the person can't see me. Why do I have to smile? On the other, and but the truth of it is this, and ask yourself this question: how many times has your friend called you up? They've said hello, and the first thing you have said, "Oh boy, what's wrong with you?" You can't see them. They've only said possibly 2 words. And you say, what's wrong with you? Why? Because you can tell it in their voice. You can tell it in their tone. It's the same thing with when you walk. If you walk with no confidence, we're not going to see you. But if you say in your head, oh boy, I am the finest, I am the sexiest, I am the baddest, I am the hottest, I am so bad, I'm getting this job. And you walk with that and you're repeating in your mind, I am so beautiful, I am gorgeous, I am lovely. We will see that radiate. So somebody was talking about personality. That is what I mean. We are not saying start jumping up and down, singing and shouting. Bring out your personality, bring out your warmth. So one question that I know that people have been dying to ask before we disappear, Sisiano, is this. How do you address the perception that a lot of castings are seen as a waste of time? This is from Ebony Duke. Are seen as a waste of time. They're seen as a cover-up because they believe that the casting directors have already picked who they want and they're just doing this as a exercise just for the sake of it. How do you deal with that?
Okay, so for me as a casting director, each time I've had to handle any casting, it's never been about who I've worked with before. There are times when if you have delivered on the job before, it's a plus. Because I already know where you're coming from. I know what the work ethic is if I've worked with you before. Guys, if you're fresh and you do everything right, you will get the job. If you've been turned down before and you get better and you work on yourself and improve yourself, you will get the job. So it comes to a level where you first of all need to cancel the defeatist reality in the sense that you're not defeated. You're not. So clear that off. Know that if I'm going for a job, it would be expressed with how you feel from the inside. Mr. Shola was saying people have to smile on the phone for you to hear the tone. If you're already coming to that casting space and saying, okay, you know what, they're not going to pick me anyway, you shouldn't have come.
Yes,
because
exactly.
that energy would reflect in how you come out, how you speak to us.
That's right.
And we'll just see someone that doesn't want to be there and
That's
doesn't
right. And
think that they stand a chance.
It. That's right. That is right. I mean, you've got that so on. Listen, we casting directors, we are taught to sense body language. That's one of the first things we are taught. Because when we cast for somebody, one of the things we're thinking about is, how is this person going to look on the runway? Are they going to kill it or not? So we are sensing that from the casting. So if you come with that wrong, negative, or bad energy, in my head, I'm thinking, you're going to be too much trouble for me. You're not going to kill my show as it is. Do you understand? So you have to come prepared. Miss Halimat said this. Why do we call for castings? Why do we call for a casting, do a casting, choose models that we're going to use for a show, but at the end of it, we find out that none of those models were chosen, and then they go and use agency models instead? Why does that happen?
Okay, so that has never happened with me, and I'm sure Mr. Shola wouldn't have done that as well. So, guys, when people swap models, is because they lack a certain level of confidence as to what they're going to deliver for the show.
That's right.
Remember, it is called a show. When people come to a space, they are wanting to be blown away. Forget the fact that as a designer, I know that I'm trying to sell clothes. Presentations are really about the show for it. It's a show. People want to leave and say, okay, you know, that was remarkable. That was nice. The clothes moved well. The models looked stunning. You know, it's awesome. So once remarks start like, the show was nice, the clothes were nice, but the models didn't quite carry the clothes well. Guys, that's a downer to that show. So every time that you think that a list is going to be swapped up with models that were not at the casting, remember and tell yourself, I did an amazing job. And if I did everything correctly, I would be the only one person that will still be on that list, even if they scrapped everyone else out.
That's right.
A list only changes when the casting director and the client come to a conclusion that these people cannot deliver at the level that we need them to deliver. And that is the business of it. People do castings over and over again, looking for. Sometimes we just pen down names just to add numbers. And that's why there's list one.
Yep. No, you're so
Mr.
right.
Shola, am I going off? Am I not saying everything right?
You're saying 100%, and in fact 101% right, because I have this as well. I mean, I know I've recasted and I get accused sometimes that it's not been fair that they were chosen. So what I do now, and I think most people that have ever worked with me, I will always tell them that we have selected you now, but we may still remove you. Bear that in mind. And what people have to understand. I have the right to change models when I like. I have the right to choose models how I like. I have the right to do the casting how I like. So there is no such thing. I know Ebony Duke brought it up, and people say it's a cover-up. Certain models were selected, certain models were not selected. Excuse me, Naomi Campbell is coming to the country. Jordan Dunn is coming to the country. I will pre-select them. If you don't like it, go and jump into the river. Hello, it's gonna happen. All right? So you people need to understand that there are certain models that we will pre-select. And then we will choose others. But even doing open casting, we're actually helping the industry. When you do New York, you do London, you do Paris, you do all of them, they're closed castings. In other words, if you're not part of the agencies that they're chosen to send models, you're not getting into those shows. Doesn't matter who you are, you're not getting into those shows. So guys, be aware of it. It's a business, all right? It's gonna happen.
Yep.
You will see Sisano.
Remember that.
It's gonna happen. No? Don't get it twisted. And I can promise you it will happen. And you can say anything you like about me. It's not going to change it, because as casting directors, we survive or we die by how good a job we have done. When people come back and say, Paolo, man, what you selected were off the hook. They were fantastic. That gets him another job. When someone can say, Paolo, oh boy, these are your models. I'm not sure about them. The next thing they'll say, Paolo, step aside. But it's true now. You see it in your choreography. You're getting job after job after job after job because you deliver. And I know how many times you get certain dancers, you choose them, and you say, sorry guys, move aside. I'm bringing somebody else in. It's not nice. We don't like to do it, but we have to do it. Sisiano, am I lying? Yeah.
And so, if I might just add this, Mr. Shola.
Go on.
Okay. So guys, just to add this, at the end of the day, it's life, and you'll be swapped off a list if they found someone else that could do the job.
Sisiano, can I pause you? Paolo, let me pause you for
a
second.
Yes, Mr.
Let's
Shola.
come back for a few minutes, okay? Because we're about to finish, and I don't want them to lose this last point you're going to give them. So guys, everybody rejoin. I'm going to come back in a second, rejoin, and Paolo's going to finish off what he was saying. Yeah, and I'm going to give you some tips as well.